I never expected my quiet cul-de-sac to turn into a full-blown investigation scene, complete with fire marshals, hazmat suits, and an HOA president screaming that I was running an unlicensed automotive shop out of my two-car garage. But when they opened her garage instead of mine, well, let's just say her essential oils business turned out to be a stockpile of illegally stored industrial chemicals that could have blown half the block into orbit. And it all started the morning she marched up my driveway, finger-pointed, voice-pitched, convinced she'd finally caught me. She thought she was destroying my life. Instead, she exposed her own. A metallic clank echoed through my garage. Nothing dramatic, just the sound of a wrench slipping from my hand and landing on the concrete. That sound, apparently, was enough to summon evil. Or at least the HOA's closest approximation. Karen, the newly crowned HOA president with a visor permanently fused to her skull. I didn't even have time to pick up the wrench before I heard her heels stabbing across my driveway like a tap-dancing woodpecker. "I knew it!" she screeched before I even turned around. I slowly pivoted, towel in hand, already exhausted. "Morning, Karen." Her eyes bulged with the intensity of a televangelist mid-sermon. "Don't morning me. I heard tools. That's commercial activity. And I have photos." She thrust her phone at me so close I almost smelled the plastic melting. On the screen, a blurry shot of me, changing my own headlight. "Karen, that's literally just me fixing my car." She crossed her arms like I'd personally offended the entire HOA charter. "Residents are prohibited from operating unlicensed auto repair businesses on the premises." I stared at her. "I'm not operating anything." "You have tools," she snapped. "I also have a microwave. Doesn't mean I'm running a restaurant." The sarcasm sailed straight past her like a paper airplane in a hurricane. She started pacing, talking to herself. "The board will love this. Violations, fines, maybe even mandatory inspections." My stomach sank. The last thing I needed was her rummaging around my property looking for imaginary crimes. I tried to keep my voice calm. "Karen, I'm fixing my car. Today. Once. That's it." But she was already typing aggressively into her phone. "Nope. Documenting. Evidence. And I'm calling in a safety complaint. If you're running a shop, you'll be shut down." She spun on her heel and stormed off, muttering something about hazards and flammable materials. At the time, I thought she was overreacting as usual. I had no idea the storm she'd unleashed, or how badly it was about to backfire on her, because the safety inspectors wouldn't be looking at my garage first. They'd start with hers. The next morning started with the shrill, nails-on-glass blast of my doorbell being held down for way too long. I swear I smelled heated plastic when I opened the door, and there she was, Karen, standing like she'd come to deliver a court summons personally crafted by the gods of petty vengeance. Behind her, two HOA board members hovered awkwardly, clipboards in hand, trying very hard not to make eye contact with me. Karen lifted her chin. "We received an official complaint regarding an unlicensed auto repair operation on your property." I blinked. "From who?" She smiled, a tight, triumphant upward curve that could have cut glass. "Anonymous. Of course." I rubbed my face. "Karen, I fixed one headlight. One. You can check the camera footage. You literally walked up mid-adjustment." She shushed me. "We've escalated it," she said, with the kind of self-satisfied tone usually reserved for movie villains who think they've already won. "The complaint has been forwarded to the county safety office." One of the board members, Derek, shifted uncomfortably. Yeah, they're sending fire marshals for an inspection." My eyebrows shot up. "Fire marshals? For a headlight?" Karen clapped her hands together like this was the most delightful thing she'd heard all week. "They'll evaluate your property for hazardous materials, tools, chemicals, machinery, anything illegal." I stared at her. "Karen, you store more chemicals in your garage than I do." Her smile faltered, just a hair, but enough to notice. She recovered instantly. "My essential oils are FDA adjacent." That wasn't a thing, pretty sure. "Look," I said, exhaling slowly. "You're wasting everyone's time. You can come check my garage now. There's nothing to find." She looked offended. "Oh, we will. But we'll let the officials see it first, so you can't hide anything." I opened my garage door anyway. Inside, a toolbox, a few cans of WD-40, a jack, and an embarrassingly dusty treadmill I swore I'd use someday. Derek's eyebrows rose. The other board member coughed like he was trying not to laugh. Karen glared at all of us. He cleaned up, obviously. I folded my arms. "Sure, that treadmill's part of my elaborate illegal operation." She spun away. "The fire marshals will be here at 2 p.m. Don't be late." And with that, she marched off, victorious in her own imagination. But as she walked up the driveway, I noticed something A tiny amber container rolled out of her bag and clinked on the pavement. The warning label on it? Flammable, industrial use only. I picked it up slowly. This was not essential oil. And suddenly, things were starting to make sense. At exactly 1:59 p.m., a white county vehicle rolled into the cul-de-sac with the kind of slow, deliberate precision that instantly made every neighbor peek through their blinds. 2 uniformed fire marshals stepped out, clipboards in one hand, radios clipped to their shoulders, no-nonsense expressions plastered on their faces. Karen practically materialized beside them like she'd teleported there on a cloud of entitlement. "Officers, over here!" she called, waving her arms as if directing an airplane. One marshal, a tall guy named Ramsey, gave her a patient smile. "Ma'am, we'll follow the standard procedure. First, we inspect the property that was reported." She pointed dramatically at my house. "That's the one! The illegal auto shop!" Ramsey turned to me. "Sir, you comfortable showing us the garage?" I shrugged. "Absolutely. Been ready since this morning." I hit the opener. The garage door lifted smoothly, revealing the same modest, tragically unremarkable collection of tools and dusty workout equipment. Ramsey stepped inside, scanning everything like he had a sixth sense for danger. His partner, Morales, checked shelves and corners with a tiny flashlight. "You do any major mechanical work here?" she asked. "Nope," I replied. "Just regular maintenance. Any gasoline storage, solvents, paint thinners? Just lawnmower fuel in a sealed container." The 2 marshals exchanged a look. The kind of look that said, "Is this really why we were called?" Ramsey turned back to Karen. "Ma'am, there's nothing hazardous here." Karen's face didn't just fall. She plummeted through 4 emotional stages: disbelief, denial, offense, and finally, the rage of someone who desperately needed reality to bend to her version of events. "That's impossible," she snapped. "Check again. He must have hidden things. You should look for secret compartments." Morales raised an eyebrow. "Secret compartments?" Karen doubled down. "Yes, he's clever like that." I couldn't stop the sarcastic smile. "Yeah, I have a whole underground bat cave below the treadmill." But before Karen could fire back, Ramsey's radio crackled. A voice came through. "Unit 4, need you to check another property." Caller reported strange chemical odors and improperly stored liquids at the same address as the HOA president. Karen froze. Ramsey looked at her. "Ma'am, that's your house." Her jaw unhinged, like she'd momentarily forgotten how gravity worked. Ramsey gestured. "We need to inspect your garage next." And for the first time since I'd known her, Karen looked genuinely afraid. Karen walked toward her house like a malfunctioning robot. Jerky steps, stiff neck, eyes darting everywhere except at me or the fire marshals. I followed at a distance, partly out of morbid curiosity. Partly because this felt like the moment the movie soundtrack would shift from tense violins to ominous bass. She reached her garage keypad and hesitated, fingers hovering over the buttons as if entering the code might detonate something. Ramsey stood behind her, patient but firm. "Ma'am," he said gently, "we do need access." Karen let out a shaky laugh. "It's really just essential oils, you know, aromatherapy, natural healing, holistic wellness." Morales jotted something down. "Probably. Defensive rambling indicates hiding something." Finally, Karen punched in the code. The garage door rattled upward, and even from 6 feet back, I felt the wave of chemical odor hit my sinuses like a slap. Not essential oils, not even close. Inside, stacked floor to ceiling, were industrial jugs, unlabeled drums, plastic totes with warning symbols, and at least 3 open containers of something neon. And bubbling. Actually, bubbling. Ramsey immediately lifted his radio. "Dispatch, we'll need hazmat support at this location." Karen spun around, pale. "It's not what it looks like." Morales stepped inside, eyes locked on a set of metallic canisters. "Ma'am, these are acetone drums. This one's leaking. And that storage method is extremely unsafe." Karen shook her head so hard her visor slipped sideways. "They're part of my business, my holistic business. My customers love the results." "What results?" I asked before I could stop myself. "Hallucinations? Third-degree enlightenment?" Karen glared, but Ramsey cut in. "Ma'am, storing this volume of volatile chemicals without permits is illegal and extremely dangerous. We're lucky there hasn't been a fire." Morales pointed toward a table covered in stained rags, near an outlet overloaded with extension cords. This setup could have sparked an explosion. At the word explosion, Karen collapsed onto a folding chair, muttering, "It's just aromatherapy. It's just aromatherapy." Meanwhile, neighbors slowly emerged from their houses, murmuring and pointing. Word was spreading fast. Ramsey turned to me. Sir, thank you for your cooperation earlier. We'll be handling this situation from here. Karen's eyes snapped toward me, full of disbelief and blame. You did this! You sabotaged me! I raised my hands. Karen, I literally fixed a headlight. And then a loud pop echoed from inside the garage, followed by a hiss. Morales shouted, "Everybody back now!" And that's when panic truly hit the street. The hiss turned into a whistling shriek, like a tea kettle possessed by a demon. Morales reacted instantly, grabbing Karen by the arm and yanking her backward, just as a plume of white vapor shot out from the leaking drum. The neighbors scattered. Someone yelled, "Is it toxic?" While another yelled, "Save the succulents!" The fire marshals stayed calm, directing everyone to the sidewalk across the street. Sirens blared in the distance, backup arriving. Hazmat teams spilled out of their trucks in full gear like a scene straight out of a disaster film. Karen, wide-eyed and trembling, clutched her visor like it was a flotation device. "This is all a misunderstanding," she whispered to no one in particular. "It's a wellness line. It's holistic. The label printer just broke." Ramsey, now wearing a respirator, shook his head. "Ma'am, you're storing volatile industrial chemicals in a residential garage. Some of these are banned without certification. And this drum," he tapped it with a gloved knuckle, "is used for commercial stripping and degreasing agents." Karen gasped. "It's for exfoliation!" Even the hazmat tech paused as if deciding whether to laugh. As they cordoned off her driveway, Morales approached me. "Sir, thank you for your patience. It's clear your garage isn't the issue." I nodded, trying not to glance too hard at the growing spectacle behind her. Karen's garage looked like a villain lair raid. Taped off sections, chemical test kits, flashlights sweeping over surfaces. Word had spread. Half the street was watching from their lawns. Karen, still in meltdown mode, pointed at me across the caution tape. "This is retaliation. You planted those chemicals in my garage?" One of the neighbors, Mrs. Ellery, called out, "Karen, there's more hazardous material in there than in my husband's workshop, and he builds race cars." Karen sputtered like a drowning engine. Ramsey handed her a clipboard. "Ma'am, you'll be receiving citations for improper storage, failure to disclose hazardous materials, violation of residential safety codes, and obstruction of an investigation." Her face drained of color. The HOA board members, who'd come to witness my illegal shop, slowly took a collective step away from her like she was radioactive. And maybe she kind of was. By evening, the hazmat team had neutralized the leak, taped her garage shut, and issued a mandatory shutdown of her business, pending a full investigation. As the trucks left, Karen sank onto the curb, staring into the distance like her entire empire of scented chaos had collapsed. I walked past her, offering a sympathetic pat on the shoulder. "Hey, at least now your essential oils are officially the hottest thing on the block," she growled. And that, dear viewer, is how my garage was almost shut down, and how Karen's actually was.